Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen are officially coming into Nintendo Switch on Pokémon Day, and I think this could be the biggest news the Pokémon company have put out in years. But there is one thing that nobody seems to be talking about, and it could change Pokemon forever. If you're new here, I stream Pokemon live 3 days a week, including retro games like Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen, so subscribe to the channel because we will definitely be talking about this live in chat tonight and every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Before we get into why you're here, I want to talk about why this is a great thing for Pokemon fans worldwide. Red and Blue are nostalgic as hell, but Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen are definitely the best way to play these games. It's the most polished version of Kanto there is. There's a lot more to do on there than even Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, including the Sevi Islands, which was an amazing post-game arc. And let's not forget, they added the physical and special split, which changed the way we play Pokemon battles forever. It also means that people who didn't get to try this game the first time round are going to get a fresh chance at it without having to pay crazy money at places like CEX and eBay. And now we get to one of the biggest questions. Is Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen worth the price point? So it's going to be costing $19.99 in the USA, and here in the UK we are paying £16.99. It's not being included on Nintendo Switch Online, but we have got extra features, i.e. it's going to be connectable with Pokemon Home. So is it worth the price? I would argue that these games are up there with the best games on Nintendo Switch, and that is including games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. So for £16.99, you bet your arse it's worth it. From what I can gather, it doesn't have any online functionality outside of the Pokemon Home support, which means you will need to play locally if you want to trade Pokemon or if you want to battle your friends. I would still argue that this is 100% worth it. Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen are absolutely incredible games, and every Pokemon fan, nay, every human being on planet Earth should experience these games at least once. Why are Nintendo releasing these games now? Well, we have got Pokemon Day coming up next week. We've got the 30th anniversary. Now, they could have released Red, Blue, Yellow again like they did on the Nintendo 3DS, but I do think it probably was time to bring these games back, as it has been 22 years. And what does this mean for the future? Are we going to be getting Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald? Are we going to be getting Nintendo DS games in the future? I mean, I hope so. I do think everybody should be able to experience these games. And of course, we can't forget that the prices of these games on the second-hand market are absolutely skyrocketing. So if you're not like me and have your original cartridges, then you're going to be spending quite a lot of money. So this is going to be a great way to enjoy these games without spending an insane amount. But I still have just one concern about the release of these games. Now, we need to talk a little bit about the original cartridges. So to get your Pokemon from Generation 3 to Generation 9 currently, you need to have a Nintendo DS or DS Lite, plug your Generation 3 game into the cartridge slot and a Generation 4 game into the other cartridge slot, and transfer your Pokemon over to Generation 4. You would then need 2 Nintendo DSs, so you can trade your Generation 3 Pokemon on your Generation 4 cartridge to a Generation 5 cartridge. At that point, you can then use the software which was originally available on the Nintendo 3DS to move your Pokemon from the Generation 5 cartridge into Pokémon Bank. At that point, you can then import them into Generation 6 or 7 or into Pokemon Home, where you can use them on all of the modern Pokemon games if they're allowed to be used in that Pokemon game. So if we're getting Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen on the Nintendo Switch, and all of the other Pokemon games follow suit, does this mean that this is the beginning of the end for Pokemon Bank? As a bit of a preservationist, I would be wildly disappointed if that was the case. I do understand that at some point Pokemon Bank does have to go away, but I just don't think I'm emotionally ready for that. There's a lot of people out there who still have their Pokemon Generation 3 cartridges and like to be able to move them over in an official way. But the important thing is, it does seem to me that Pokemon Company is starting to take preservation seriously, and maybe the Nintendo Switch 2 will fulfill its potential as the ultimate Pokemon machine. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be purchasing Pokemon FireRed or LeafGreen on Nintendo Switch. And if you want to see me play these live when they drop on Pokemon Day, then make sure you subscribe to the channel.